Resurrection. I finished my biographical section, and now it's time for me to share you all my knowledge about the Serpent Bearer. However, it is not as easy as it seems because I have to bring the Serpent Bearer back to life. I am faced with an enormous task because I have to go against the established order. There is also a certain order in which I have to do things. In this chapter, I will focus purely on the forgotten constellation of the Serpent Bearer. The zodiac sign of the Serpent Bearer plays a very decisive role in astrology and numerology. Without the Serpent Bearer, everything is in conflict. Astrology and numerology are necessary to reach the highest state of personal development. Spirituality sounds like a scary word to many, yet it means nothing more than knowing yourself to the core and getting the most out of it. Spirituality has nothing to do with religion. In fact, religion does the opposite. Religion determines how the crowd should think. Spirituality indicates that you are unique, which means that every person has their own manual. Before I can continue my story, I have to reintroduce the Serpent Bearer. First, I will tell you something about the origins of the Serpent Bearer. Next, I want to show that the Serpent Bearer is still part of the whole picture. Once I have restored the basics of astrology to its roots, then it is time for me to share with you the hidden identity of the Serpent Bearer. He may have become unknown to us over the past 900 years, but the Egyptians, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Greeks, the Romans, and even our Germanic ancestors all acknowledged the Serpent Bearer. His character can therefore be found in other ancient cultures, spread all over the world. It's time to resurrect my zodiac sign. The origin story. I have been working on the constellation of the Serpent Bearer since 2012, and in 2023, I would find the reason this constellation no longer exists. It is Christianity that has deliberately destroyed all information surrounding this zodiac sign. As you can see, Christianity has much to fear from the Serpent Bearer. The constellation of the Serpent Bearer dates back more than 12,000 years, and has only been unknown for the last 900. It is striking that this zodiac sign carries many identities. The name of the constellation, Scorpio, was already determined by our ancestors more than 12,000 years ago. In Göbekli Tepe, Pillar 43, the Serpent Bearer is depicted as a vulture spreading its wings. These wings have the same angle as the serpent, and at its feet, there is the constellation of Scorpio. What the image shows is that this Serpent Bearer carries an element on his wings, a sun, which we know as the constellation of the Northern Crown. The ancient Greeks called this constellation the Temple of Delphi. The zodiac sign of the Serpent Bearer is connected to psychic abilities. The Serpent Bearer is a combination of two specific zodiac signs. It is always the combination of the Sun in Sagittarius and the Moon in Scorpio. Both zodiac signs are known for their intensity, yet both represent each other's extremes. The point where both energies meet, the conflict zone, the energy is so intense that a new energy is created, called the Serpent Bearer. In short, the Serpent Bearer, in the purest sense, is always a child of Sagittarius and Scorpio. Astrologically speaking, the following is happening. Scorpio represents a water element, which is enhanced by an air element. Sagittarius represents a fire element, which is enhanced by an air element. You can see Scorpio as a cold and wet air, and Sagittarius as a hot and dry air. When the two come together, a new element is created called lightning. In short, the Serpent Bearer has its own unique element, called lightning. The ascendant also plays an important role. If you are a Serpent Bearer and your ascendant is the zodiac sign of Gemini, your Gemini transforms into another identity. In that case, everything revolves around chaos, death, and destruction, which is also known as the element of thunder. So if your Sun is in Sagittarius, your Moon is in Scorpio, and your ascendant is Gemini, then you represent thunder and lightning. In that case, you are completely pure. In astrology, there are 6 elements that play a role, namely fire, earth, air, water, thunder, and lightning. The conflict in astrology. There is a conflict at the core of astrology. I'm surprised everyone missed this. This is why I look at things myself and find a solution to the existing problem. Astrology is in conflict, and there are 3 clues to this. The first hint has to do with the elements. If I list the 12 zodiac signs, the elements are in conflict. In this case, we need to look at numerology. Aries is known as a fire element and is connected to the number 1. The number 10 is in numerology equal to 1. In this case, it brings Capricorn and Aries together. In other words, the elements of earth and fire are coming together. So the issue here is that the elements are in conflict because they are not of the same type. It indicates that something is missing. The Serpent Bearer is equivalent to the number 9 and has its element called lightning. By adding this knowledge to the existing element model, everything matches again. Aries is equal to Sagittarius. It is fire on fire. This also applies to all zodiac signs that follow. All elements are back in harmony because of adding the Serpent Bearer to the list. In short, this proves we have 13 zodiac signs. There is also another way in which you can see that astrology is in conflict. It's all about the zodiac sign of Libra. Libra is known for its balance, calmness, and stability. Both scales should carry equal weight. In astrology, this is not the case with a model of 12 zodiac signs. There are 6 constellations before Libra, and only 5 constellations follow. In short, Libra is out of balance and does not live up to its name. By adding the Serpent Bearer, both scales are equal again. So, because of adding the Serpent Bearer, Libra lives up to its name again. The third hint emerges when we look at the types of the constellations. In this case, we have to look at 3 magic numbers. They are the combination 147, 258, and 369. If I add the Serpent Bearer to the list, something special happens. The 258 represents the zodiac signs of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Capricorn. As you can see, they all represent animals. The 258 stands for pure animal instinct. The 147 combination consists of animals, a hybrid, and an object. It represents the zodiac signs of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Sagittarius, and Pisces. This number is all about controlling and stabilizing animal instinct. The 147 is a number that is connected to evolution. Something special happens with the 369. By adding the Serpent Bearer, the 369 corresponds to all human types in astrology. It is completely pure. The 369 represents Gemini, Virgo, the Serpent Bearer, and Aquarius. In short, the number 369 represents humanity. It refers to a very sacred combination because this 369 combination is known for possessing the thunder and lightning elements. As you can see, there are 3 important indications that the Serpent Bearer is still part of astrology. The elements are all back in harmony, Libra regains its symbolic value, and the 369 is all about humanity. Basically, in astrology, we have 13 zodiac signs and we have 6 elements. The question that follows: how do I implement the Serpent Bearer into the existing model? According to the Aztec calendar, it contains a period of 13 degrees. It is a period that is shorter than 2 weeks. As I already indicated, we are dealing with a conflict zone. This means that Scorpio and Sagittarius both compromise on their existing period. If your sun, moon, or ascendant is between 23.5 degrees and 30 degrees in Scorpio, then you are actually a Serpent Bearer. If your sun, moon, or ascendant is between 0 degrees and 6.5 degrees in the period of Sagittarius, then you are actually a Serpent Bearer. Yet, the secret still lies in the combination sun in Sagittarius, moon in Scorpio, and ascendant in Gemini. Who is the Serpent Bearer? Who does the Serpent Bearer represent? The answer to this is simple. It are all thunder and lightning gods. Everything is about the extreme. It is the motto, all or nothing. The Serpent Bearer can be quite ruthless. This sign also represents the judge. It is the Serpent Bearer who decides who gets awarded and who gets punished in the afterlife. It is all about the final judgment. The all or nothing attitude gives the Serpent Bearer the ability to make difficult decisions quickly. It rarely hesitates. When the final judgment is made, it sometimes happens that people are convicted and receive an appropriate punishment. You understand that these souls truly hate the Serpent Bearer. The Serpent Bearer never backs down and can even be the one creating conflict. It rarely avoids a fight. In short, the Serpent Bearer is not popular with everyone, and therefore certainly does not make easy friends. As I indicated at the beginning, the Serpent Bearer was consciously erased from history by Christianity. All documentation has been destroyed, and the same applies to Germanic mythology. Only flawed fragments remain. However, other ancient cultures did worship this sign. When it comes to Egypt, I end up with a combination of Thoth and Osiris. It was Thoth who shared all the secrets of life with humanity, and it is Osiris who rules over the afterlife. I don't know enough about Egyptian myths, but the total character of the Serpent Bearer may be divided among different characters. I feel like something is still missing. The reason I think so has to do with the following two ancient cultures. They focus on different aspects of a single personality. When I look at the ancient Greeks, it is clear that they were close to the truth. They came a lot closer to true reality than the ancient Egyptians. The thing is that Greek stories are based on constellations. What they used to do, they took a certain constellation and fleshed out the character to make it into an adventure. The latter is important because it makes the stories easier to remember. Something special is also happening here. The Aztecs of South America and the Greeks of Europe worship the same gods in the same form. With the Greeks, the story becomes obvious. We have the supreme god of thunder and lightning, named Zeus. Zeus is a pure serpent bearer. Each of his children represents an aspect of Zeus, his total character. So they are not real children. It has the form of an old birth horoscope. The same applies to Germanic mythology, where Odin is represented by his 3 sons. The serpent bearer is a twin. In Greek myth, the Sagittarius is represented by Apollo, and his sister Artemis represents Scorpio. Apollo is equal to the sun, and Artemis is equal to the moon. Together, they create the element of lightning. Next comes the defining aspect, and that is the zodiac sign of Gemini. This constellation is represented by Hermes, who is the messenger or representative of all the gods. It is thunder in its positive form. For simplicity, if we put Hermes, Apollo, and Artemis together, they represent the aspect of thunder and lightning of Zeus. The Aztecs and the Maya also had this very specific division. The Aztecs chose to worship the pure serpent bearer. They worshipped the aspect of creation and destruction. Blood sacrifices were therefore made to the thunder gods. The Mayans were slightly different, in that they worshipped only the serpent bearer. They still address to the same god, but only highlight the creation aspect. In short, the Aztecs worshipped Zeus, and the Maya worshipped Apollo and Artemis. In addition, there is also Aphrodite. She represents the zodiac sign of Virgo. I would discover that Aphrodite is the wife of Zeus. It is an element that complements thunder and lightning. The serpent bearer has a hidden link with Virgo. See the number combination 369. As a pure serpent bearer, I also have a strong bond with Earth. Like the thunder and lightning element, I also happen to dominate all Earth elements by name. I control over the zodiac signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The days of the week. Around the year 1100 AD, Christianity deliberately destroyed many valuable resources. Our true past has been completely falsified and erased. Yet, our ancestors fought back and largely managed to retain our identity under enormous pressure. Our true origins still live on in the days of the week. The week starts on Sunday, the day dedicated to the sun. Then comes Monday, the day dedicated to the moon. Tuesday is all about the battle between good and evil and self-sacrifice. Wednesday is the day dedicated to Odin, which is the day of creation. Thursday, the day dedicated to thunder, which is the day of destruction. Then there is Friday, which is all about Frigg or Freya. Saturday is of Roman origin and represents the planet Saturn. What do I see in this story? First, it is the reference to astrology. What you need to know is that at that time there were no instruments to calculate the ascendant. All they knew about astrology was the sun and moon sign. It refers to the duality that lies within someone. Tuesday is the day of self-sacrifice and the fight against evil. Legend says that the gods lived a peaceful existence until a wolf was born named Fenrir. The gods were afraid because this wolf became stronger than the gods. They tried to curb his strength by giving him various tests, but Fenrir was able to withstand them all. Then a meeting between the gods took place, and they decided to make a special collar made of magic. Fenrir smelled trouble and accepted the challenge, but with the condition that Tyr, the god of justice, had to put his arm in the wolf's mouth. If Fenrir were to be bound, he would bite off Tyr's arm, and so he did. The god of justice sacrificed himself to curb evil. Wednesday is the day of Woden, which is another Germanic name of Odin. Odin is a serpent bearer, which is associated with lightning. He represents the energy of creation. Thursday is Thor's day. He represents thunder. This Thursday is all about chaos, death, and destruction, in its most positive form. Together, Wednesday and Thursday form the elements of thunder and lightning. This is a critical aspect because this story also has its legend. For example, Thor was raised by lightning gods. In other words, he was raised by the Serpent Bearer. It indicates that thunder can only be positive when this chaotic nature is countered by the Serpent Bearer. In short, the Serpent Bearer restrains the thunder. If the thunder is on its own, without the counter of the Serpent Bearer, it will lead to misery. In the latter, thunder represents evil in its most negative form. Friday is the day of Frigg or Freya. She is the wife of Odin. Frigg stands for feminine energy and represents the element of earth. Legend has it that Odin finds himself in the afterlife on earth. He tests souls for their true value. He rules the heavenly realm, yet he pretends to be an unkempt wanderer. The message is, never judge a book by its cover. Odin has a connection to the elements of earth. Yet, there is still something remarkable going on. Firstly, it refers to astrology, and secondly, there is a 3-6-9 combination. The day of Odin represents the number 9, the Serpent Bearer, and the planet Jupiter. The day of Thor represents the number 3, the Gemini, and the planet Mercury. The day of Frigg represents the number 6, Virgo, and the planet Venus. Then, something weird happens. Saturday comes from Roman mythology. The Saturday represents the Roman god Saturn. It conflicts with the previous days, which are all Germanic. In astrology, Saturn represents the father, which is characterized by a demanding and disciplined energy. Chronos. For a long time I was under the impression that the Romans erased an identity in order to replace it with one of their gods. However, I now believe that our Germanic ancestors only counted 6 days in a week. The calendar we know today comes from the old Roman Empire, which started with the new era. In short, our ancestors were forced to adopt the concept of the Romans. Before I start, I want to say something. In one way or another, I have always felt the need to make the annual calendar fit. It's a kind of puzzle that I would like to solve, using logic. I really don't like the chaotic pattern of the current calendar at all. I can't find any logical connection to it. However, it is true that there was an annual calendar before this Roman model was imposed on everyone. I have also been puzzling for many years, and I like to take on the challenge. The mistake I made all this time was that I kept focusing on the wrong model. I was stuck in tunnel vision. I am someone who writes very spontaneously, and if I encounter something, I solve the problem immediately. I'm going to solve it right here, right now. So I often have an idea and then work on it to see if it leads anywhere. In this case, it's all about the number 6 and time. Let's honor this number and see if we can make the annual calendar correct without adding a leap day. The question I have is, what would this data mean if I assume 6 days a week? The only way to find out is to work this idea out on paper. The reason I think we only had 6 days is because of the total story that is told in our 6 days of the week. It appears to be complete. Saturn has no value to this story. What I also know is that our distant ancestors determined the division of time. Everything revolved around the number 6. To understand this, we have to simplify. In this concept, I use the 6 days of the week, just like our ancestors. The 6 represents Virgo, and is a very important element when it comes to time. The number 9 stands for completeness. In other words, there is no more step left afterward. It indicates that the cycle is complete. The day is divided into 6 pieces. We have the night, midnight, morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. Let me assume that our ancestors took 360 days in a year as a basis. This would mean that there is a turnover in the actual year. Each year represents 5.25 missing days. If I make this a period of 8 years, I arrive at a difference of 42 days. 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. I can solve this problem by adding a week to each year, and every 8th year, I omit this extra week. In short, we have 7 years of 366 days, and a single 8th year of 360 days to complete the cycle. This also means that every 8 years, a new cycle starts. So we have 7 years of 366 days, which represents a total of 61 weeks. The 8th year has 360 days, which concludes the entire cycle as complete, and consists of 60 weeks. In short, I seem to have finally found the solution on the true annual calendar. There are no decimals, and I have left the number 6 in complete harmony. As you can see, this is the thought process I go through when I follow my impulses. I solve everything by asking the right questions. It has led to a logical and fixed pattern in the annual calendar. Notice what happens when I simplify. So we have 60 seconds in a minute. 6 plus 0 is equal to 6. We have 60 minutes in an hour. 6 plus 0 is equal to 6. We have 3,600 seconds in an hour. 3 plus 6 plus 0 plus 0 is equal to 9. We have 24 hours in a day. 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. We have 1,440 minutes in a day. 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 0 is equal to 9. We have 6 days a week. 6. We have 144 hours in a week. 1 plus 4 is equal to 9. Each year has 366 days. 3 plus 6 is equal to 15 equals 1 plus 5 is equal to 6. The 8th year has 60 weeks. 6 plus 0 is equal to 6. The 8th year has 360 days. 3 plus 6 plus 0 is equal to 9. So, this is how impulsiveness works for me. Something comes up and I go for it directly. You've just had the best example of my impulsiveness. I really spent years solving the calendar. It was an urge within me that saw this as a true challenge. When describing the days of the week, the penny dropped, and I finally got it right. By starting from 6 days a week, I finally solved the years-long mystery, based on an impulse. Astrology, the Serpent Bearer. In the field of astrology, I have been able to locate several sources that explain the identity of the Serpent Bearer. I had to consult various books, but I did manage to find a description of my type. In this description, Scorpio and Sagittarius are put together. The same applies to the ascendant. I treat the pure Serpent Bearer in its entirety. This information is short and sweet, plus I can confirm that the description is pretty accurate. What follows is a description of the pure Serpent Bearer. Sun in Sagittarius versus Moon in Scorpio. Controlled inspiration. The Serpent Bearer is optimistic, alert and honest, open-minded and in-depth, loyal, driven and decisive, warm-hearted and cautious, instinctive, sensual, astute and moralistic, resilient and a convincing type. You maneuver between extrovert and introvert behavior. Periods of expressiveness and activity alternate with times of reflection and introspection, and vice versa. This way, you can function optimally. Your rational side becomes extremely alert and sharp as soon as a subject or issue fascinates you. You get to the heart of the matter very quickly. But beneath the surface, your intense sensitivity is always stirring, which works quite mysteriously. Concentration is your strength. Conviction, imagination, and perseverance give you strategic talent. As soon as you know what you want, you do everything you can, energetically and diligently. With that endurance you can move mountains and climb steadily, provided you aim high and don't get distracted by emotional extremes. You are definitely smart, not just intellectually, also in the sense of refined and well-rounded. Your insight and overview, zest for life and courage, are guided by a sensitive instinct. This gives you empathy, allowing you to understand, characterize and advise your fellow human beings clearly, succinctly and well-considered. With those intense qualities, such as inspiration and a powerful, albeit complicated, emotional life, your life path may lead you to extremes. Your great ideals make you reach for the top, but not without exploring deep valleys. In this way you train self-discipline and learn to take the bait, so that you ultimately achieve every goal with admirable zest. From worldly ideals to personal passions, from noble justice to the temptations of dubious sensations, if something captures your imagination, you will be captivated. You are eager to learn, open-minded and objective. Rationally, you know how to put human tendencies and limitations into perspective. Your vision is well thought out and based on your own experiences and research. But you also involuntarily pursue pure passion. Your strong desires and vitality require constant encouragement. You are closed about your inner feelings, while you long for confirmation and stimulation. The desire to explore the world is as strong as the urge to transcend reality, making a creative outlet crucial to your well-being. Whether it concerns studying or traveling, you are constantly looking forward to exciting plans and regularly wander through the caverns of the unconscious. With such a progressive and penetrating talent, life rarely goes smoothly. Survive and conquer, reach heights or depths, you cannot help but explore the many fascinating facets of existence, so that you can tell others about them or let them hear, see, and feel what it is all about. Ascendant Gemini, Sun in Sagittarius. Here the personality has grown into an individual who easily enthusiastically conveys to others what vision he has acquired in life. He has chosen a vision that has been given to him from his background, or that he has acquired himself, and which necessarily carries limitations because it reflects one particular view. In soul contact he learns more and more, through feedback, how he can integrate other views into his vision. By talking about it with many, his vision is enriched by the knowledge and experience of others, and therefore becomes more universal. Now that I have been giving a wide description of the Serpent Bearer, it is time for something else. I have dealt with many strange things in life, which also includes a certain pattern. It has nothing to do with the afterlife or psychic abilities. This is something completely different.